Welcome to the first Business of NIL episode. My name is Ahmed El Houli, and today we will have a special guest by the name of JR Tolver. Our topic today is become the best business you can be off the field. So I will just let in our guest, JR. JR is just joining us. JR, welcome to the show. How are you, buddy? How's things?
Good, man. Good. How are you?
Very well, thank you. JR, firstly, thank you very much for joining us on the show. I definitely appreciate it. So today's topic is basically helping athletes becoming the best business they can become off the field, how they get their financial structures right, how they build solid companies, how they're best in place to make the most of their business off the field. Now I'm going to hand it over to you and let you get us going.
Yeah, man. It's an interesting situation. I feel like there's 460,000 student athletes under the NCAA D1, D2, D3 across the country. So on July 1st, the NCAA essentially created 460,000 new businesses overnight. And I think for athletes that are in school, learning in school, learning their playbook, everybody's not sitting in a business class or comes from an entrepreneurial background, but everybody has this opportunity to capitalize now on their name, image, and likeness. And by definition, pursuing revenue is a business. And so what I think that athletes are going to have to really start diving into is it's kind of like what Jay-Z said, I'm not a businessman, I'm a businessman. Like, what does that mean? And there's a lot of benefits to being a business man. And so that's really one of the things that I want athletes to understand now is as everybody's kind of coming at them with these opportunities for revenue, are they positioned to maximize that revenue based off of how they're approaching and setting up this new business that they have? So that's kind of the theme really is the infrastructure of business, understanding what it means to be in business, understanding the rules of business, and then putting yourself in position to capitalize on all of the benefits that being a business and operating as a business can do for you.
Fantastic. JR, let's start at the very beginning, or as they say, at the very, very bottom. What's the first thing these student athletes or athletes in general should do before they even earn 1 cent?
So name, image, and likeness business is interesting because you're attaching you, who you are, what you believe to a product or to a service or to an event or to an action. And so I think the very first thing, no different than playing on a football team or a basketball team, is understanding what your values are. Coaches do this very well. Coaches will sit a team down and say, this team is going to be built on, hustle, grit, and attitude, right? That's the values of the team. So I think number one, the first thing an athlete has to do who decides to pursue this name, image, likeness, revenue opportunity, because this is so closely tied to who they are as a person and to who their reputation, what their reputation is to define, who they are, right? So what is their personal mission? What's their vision? What are their values? Because again, you don't want to get into business with the brand that doesn't align with your mission, your vision, your values. So that would be the first thing that I would do if I was an athlete today, is I'd really sit down and take a hard look and say, what's my mission? What am I trying to accomplish? What is my vision as it pertains to, how do I want to enter into this enterprise? And then what do I value, right? because you're going to get money and opportunities thrown at you from a lot of different directions. If you don't define your values up front and your mission and your vision, you may end up just chasing cash, which is never a good thing.
Very true. So, JR, let's look at some of the financial components or company structures. Basically, what I'm seeing nowadays in the last 4 days, actually, since NIL went live, is there's a lot of news about deals and talks and all the great stuff, but there's not enough talk about all the boring stuff: your taxes, your company structures, your financial advice, your accountants. Like, what's going on? Like, who's looking after all that? What should they be doing?
Yeah, that's to me step number 2, right? So once you kind of sit down and you take a step back and you say, who do I want to be as a company? Step number 2 really is how am I going to operate? And that's 3 things, like you just said. One of those things is your liability structure, your entity structure. We hear a lot of talk about LLCs and C Corps and S Corps. Don't ignore that stuff. Really dive in to see what type of entity structure is the best structure for your situation. And I would caution you to say, I don't need that, or that doesn't apply to me. I would really look at it from a business perspective. Every single phenomenal business in this country has an entity structure, whether you're looking at Amazon or you're looking at your favorite donut shop down the street. They really took the time to decide what's going to be the most beneficial entity structure for them. So that's kind of number 1 as far as like what type of business am I operating. The second thing is, how do I want to be taxed, right? So again, you have an entity structure, and it could be an LLC, an S Corp, a C, whatever it is, right? Liability is one thing. How you're taxed as a business is something totally different. And so I want to kind of dive in and say revenue is completely different than salary. And so I think what a lot of athletes are thinking, or what the world in general thinks, is, hey, I just signed this deal with Pizza Hut. They paid me $50,000. That's my compensation. Well, the reality of that situation is, as a business, when you get $50,000 from Pizza Hut, that's not your salary, that's your revenue. If you work at McDonald's and McDonald's pays you $15 an hour and you work 40 hours a week, McDonald's isn't going to give you $600 at the end of the week. They're going to give you $476, right? Because they're going to take the taxes out at the front, and then they're going to give you what's left over. When you're a business, you're responsible for managing every dollar that comes in from start to finish, including how much you'll owe in taxes. So entity structure, super important. How you're taxed as a business is also very important. And then the last thing, the third thing on the structure standpoint, is your NAICS code, NAICS. If you go to the IRS website, they're going to say, what type of business are you? Are you a donut shop? Are you a clothing store? Are you a celebrity, right? Because they want you to self-identify the operation of your business. Make sure you pick the right one, because ultimately the type of business you run will determine the expenses that are ordinary, necessary, and reasonable for that type of business. So NAICS code, entity structure, making sure that you pick the right taxation structure for your business, for your family, for your lifestyle, for your wants, for your needs, and then build up revenue opportunities from there.
And what happens when the deals start flowing through? You've done all that, and the deals start flowing through. You can choose. Are you chasing all the big bucks? What brands should you align with? You've had some experience in the past playing in the NFL and whatnot. You guys have seen how NFL teams get affiliated with organizations and whatnot. Like, should there be a criteria that these athletes should put together, follow that? It could be confusing.
Yeah, I really believe you should, right? Nobody ever goes into a game. I see Amir on the live right now, played for the University of Notre Dame. Never once did Amir go into a game not knowing what the game plan was, right? And not only that, not only did he know what the game plan was, but he practiced the game plan all week so that when they got into the game, they had a reasonable understanding of how they were going to approach the game. I think business is the same way. You know, again, the NCAA turned this clock on overnight, July 1st. And so the businesses that are out there that want to do deals with athletes, they were sitting there waiting with bated breath, and now they're, sliding into DMs and offering cash and, soliciting athletes to promote this or promote that. When the fact of the matter is that as a business, I need to have my own game plan, my own practice plan. I need to know that this is the way that I'm going to choose to operate. So again, I really believe that it's very important for these 460,000 new businesses to really take a step back and to say, how am I going to operate as a business? And what do I want to get out of this, right? What's my mission? What's my vision? What are my values? What are my goals? And then how am I going to connect my mission, vision, values, and goals with these revenue opportunities that are presented to me?
Absolutely. At the beginning of every industry, we constantly see those that come and try to basically make the most of the vulnerability of those involved in the industry. Is there any advice for these athletes to look out for? Basically, some tips on what they should look out for. Because, like I said earlier, everyone's telling them all these great things. But you could affiliate yourself with a brand that could impact you getting drafted. You could affiliate yourself with a brand that could impact you losing a scholarship. So, what are we looking at? Like, is there a few questions we can ask, a few things that we can have a look at before we say yes or no?
Yeah, so my dad taught me a couple of things. Number one, you have all your life to work. That's something that I've always kind of taken to heart. When I was an athlete, I wanted to get a job when I was 15 or 16 years old because I wanted to make money. I wanted to have money. I wanted to be independent. And my dad said, "Listen, you're trying to position yourself to do something special on the field, and you're not going to have that opportunity forever." So that's always priority number one. The only real way to protect priority number one is to make sure you have good people in your corner. Because let's be honest, a lot of these young athletes are going to get pushed a contract in the face, and they've never seen a contract before, right? They're going to be asked to interpret a legal contract written by a lawyer who's been a lawyer for 25 years, and this is the first contract that they've ever read or they've ever signed. So if you don't have somebody that you can push things to get solid, no strings attached advice from when it comes to doing your due diligence on deals, you got to find somebody. And that could be, a mom, a dad, an uncle, or it could be a local attorney, whatever it is, right? Just make sure that you never put your John Hancock on something that you don't fully understand. The second thing my dad taught me was deals are like buses. If you miss this one, another one's coming. So never feel the pressure of having to capitalize or sign on this dotted line, because if you don't sign on this dotted line, they're going to take the deal and give it to somebody else. I guarantee you, if you have an opportunity to sign a deal with somebody and you're being pressured to sign now and you decide not to do it and that deal leaves, no sweat. Just sit out and wait, be patient. I promise you another deal is going to come along. So those are really the two things, is really making sure you have somebody in your corner that can help you interpret the legal nature of this business, because this is a business in terms of you're exchanging consideration A brand is going to give you money, or they're going to give you gear for something that you are going to do for them. That is going to be a legal agreement, and you're going to be bound by that agreement once you put your signature on it. So take your time to make sure that that agreement is lined up with your goals, with your mission, your vision, your values. And then look, if you're getting pressured and you don't feel comfortable, trust your gut. Don't sweat it, let it go. I guarantee you another bus is going to come along at some point in the near future as well.
Absolutely. And also, one thing to keep in mind is lots of athletes are getting carried away with the notion that, social followings, social reach, so on and so on. Remember, audiences, they do get exhausted too. So
For sure.
it's really important that you're very, very careful with who you select and how you select things, because your audience can only handle so much, really. So at the end of the day, yes, we're not against you going ahead and signing deals and doing all that fun stuff. But there's a lot between the lines that you have to look out for. The art of saying no is a very, very difficult one to learn and actually adopt, because when you're excited, you're jumping out of your skin and you've never seen this sort of money before in your life, it's hard to say no. And I can tell you this, a lot of people who are the biggest stars right now, like from Mike Tyson down, look what happened with him and what's his name, Don King, right? He was excited. He'd never seen this money before. He signed lawsuits, he did things that he didn't want to do, almost destroyed his career. So definitely need to learn the art of saying no.
Absolutely. And the Don King situation kind of leads me to my next point is, what does your organizational chart look like? And again, that's just a fancy way of saying who's in your huddle, who's on your team. And I think there's two types of team members. I think there's the people that work for you, so they are internal to your organization. And then there's the people that are doing work for you. That's like your CPA, your lawyer, your bookkeeper. Again, the people who aren't necessarily a part of your business, but they're there as a support to your business. And I believe there's my situation, I think, is very similar to a lot of situations as far as athletes is concerned. We have a trusted advisor, usually family member, friend, mentor, that is willing to help us out and help us sift through things. If NIL was in 2002, when it was my senior year in college, I would have leaned heavily on my mom and my dad to help me sort through the process. And not to say that my mom and my dad knew everything as it pertained to about business, but they knew more than me. And so I think when it comes to this business of name, image, and likeness, every player should be very intentional about having somebody that can ride shotgun with them. I always say the player is the CEO. This is your company. It's your dream. It's your baby. Ultimately, the success or the failure of it is going to lie on you as the CEO. But there's nothing like having a good COO, a chief operating officer right next to you that can sort through the details and look at the fine print and dot the I's and cross the T's and ask the tough questions and things of that nature. So the organizational chart of your name, image, and likeness business, take that very seriously. If you're just trying to make decisions in a vacuum and do everything by yourself, it's not going to turn out well for you. You don't have enough breadth of knowledge, understanding, experience to always make the best decision based on your own volition. So whoever your trusted advisor is, mom, dad, uncle, auntie, grandma, best friends, dad, whoever it is, right? Be intentional and thoughtful about bringing them in, bringing them close, and telling them, hey, I have this opportunity. Here's my mission. Here's my vision. Here's my values. This is how much revenue I want to try to generate, over the next 3, 4, 5 months. Can you help me manage the details? Because I still got to practice. I still got to, go out and do my schoolwork. I still got to, play in the game. So I still got to perform. So ask somebody to help take some of the burden of operation off of you. And usually that person is not too far from your everyday life. Mom, dad, uncle, sister, cousin, whoever it is, they'd be more than willing to pitch in if you ask them. I'm pretty much certain of it.
Absolutely. JR, we've been going now for a few minutes. I think we need to wrap it up before we let you go. And thank you very much for being a part of this and basically being the first episode on this great American Day, July the 4th. I'm sure you can hear the fireworks in the background.
Absolutely.
They're going off. So, what are your parting words and pieces of advice to these athletes?
Yeah, so I'll just I'll recap, because again, I think this is systematic, right? If you go into this reactive as opposed to proactive, you're not going to get as much out of your opportunity. And somebody once told me a system stands for save yourself time, energy, and money. So I would implore you to create a system. And this is my system. My system is 5 points. And I believe that every athlete that's going to decide to pursue this name, image, and likeness opportunity will maximize that opportunity if they have a system. And I'll give you my system and take it for a grain of salt. But I really believe that it's important to have a system. So that first piece of the puzzle, like I said, is mission, vision, values, goals. Go ahead and sit down and take a little bit of time to define those. The second is, what type of business am I operating? What's my NACS code? What's my entity structure? And how am I going to be taxed as a business? Third is, who's on my team? What's my org chart look like? What's my internal org chart? The people who work for me, maybe it's my mom, my dad, are really helping me internally. And then who do I need to help me externally? Accountant, bookkeeper, banker, attorney, whoever that may be. And then the last thing is really like the budget, like understanding like how much money can I potentially bring in, and then what are my expenses associated with that money, right? So making sure that you intentionally design a projected budget, a projected revenue budget, and a projected expense budget. Very, very, very important. And then the last thing is, where's the money going to come from, right? Like, how am I going to go out and really pursue revenue? And I think platforms like SportsFender, right, is a great way to leverage your opportunity. It's a great way to operate efficiently, right? I can go in, I can create a profile, and I can kind of sit back and hang out, and hopefully the platform connects me to businesses that want to do business with me, as opposed to me having to go out and put energy and effort. Or do you want to go out and put energy and effort? Do you want to go out and cold call or door knock every car dealership in the neighborhood to see if they want to do business with you? But again, deciding on your revenue model, how you're going to bring money in, and then making sure all 5 of those pieces are always interacting together as efficiently and effectively as possible.
There you go, ladies and gentlemen. Mr. JR, thank you very much for being a part of this. Ladies and gentlemen, check out athletellc.com. JR's been very generous, and he's got a ton of resources on there. That's his website. He's been in your shoes before. He's played in the NFL. He's played college football. He's definitely done it all before. What you're doing now, he's already been there and done it. So thank you very much, JR. It's been an absolute pleasure to have you on. And happy 4th of July, America. Enjoy.
Thanks for having me.
Take care.